Welcome to Unpacked, real conversations for diplomatic partners who are ready to unpack more than just boxes. This is the space for the brave questions, the messy middles, and the quiet decision to stop shrinking and start showing up fully. We talk identity, purpose, transitions, and what it really takes to feel at home in a life that's always moving. Because you've always been more than just the label, and this is where we say it out loud. Hi, I'm Emma, and I'm with my co-host Anna.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Unpacked. I'm with the lovely Anna and we are so happy to have you here today. We're going to carry on our discussion on the theme of uncertainty, and today we're really going to delve deep into the concept of how do we make decisions when we don't have enough information yet. And we're going to talk about this initially before we even get the post. So Anna, what do you normally do, or where are you when you it's time to get the new job for a year's time and you're starting to look through all the available jobs? Can you talk us through what your process is?
Well, first of all, hi Emma, hi everyone. Yeah. It's so good to be back and record this episode on the topic of uncertainty, because as we touched upon this last time, it's really baked into the fabric of this lifestyle.
Yeah,
exactly. So what do I do when I know, okay, we'd like to go another posting? And obviously it varies. It depends on the country, on the foreign ministry, but for the government of the country my spouse is working for, basically I think every 3 months, every 6 months, there is just a list of postings that be coming up. I'd say in 6 months, right? And then he can go through it, obviously his position, whether, it fits his requirements. And then he would come home and say, hey, these are the options. What do you think? And the way I used to do it, especially in the beginning, this whole thing was so new and exciting. He would print out post reports, because I think every foreign ministry would have that, right? Description of the posting and, the country, but also, I don't know, again, it varies a lot, but for us, we normally don't choose where we're going to live. You just inherit automatically the place of your predecessor, unless you have lots of kids and you just won't fit. And he was, let's say, a single person, one small apartment. So you can also read where you're going to live. Is it a compound? Is what's there? What is the schooling situation, the healthcare, and so on. And I think just in general, before okay, once these are the options potentially, I think for you as a spouse, let's put the kids aside for a second. Just if it's just you, I would say you need to know what are your what is your absolute minimum in your standards, what is non-negotiable and essential for you. Let's say if you're someone who doesn't drive and really enjoys walking, I would not go to a place where really the only way to get around is by car, or there's no way to walk because it's either dangerous, it's too hot, or whatever, because you'll be very, very miserable. You'll be feeling like, living in a golden jail, locked up. I have friends like that. Say, I only go to places where I can walk, and that's why I'm here in Beirut right now, because I can walk. Otherwise, I would just not go. So obviously, you have to have some understanding and knowing of yourself and your preferences.
Yes.
So there are some things you most likely will need to sacrifice, or kind of say, okay, I can deal with that. That's all right.
Yeah.
But some things, this is essential. Like, this is such a huge part of my well-being. If I don't have that, well, frankly, I'll be so miserable. It's just not worth it. So I'd start with that. How about you, Emma?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely do the same. I think for me, when we were looking before we were moving to Kenya, I didn't have the choice about Pakistan because Andrew had already picked it before, because I was living independently in Dubai before that. So really, Kenya was our first joint decision. And when we did that, I thought about myself, what were the things about Pakistan that I really enjoyed, and what did I value in that as a posting. And then I had to look at some of the post reports, and for me, like having Wi-Fi is really important, because it means that I can be easily connected to whoever I need to be connected to, but also I need that stable connection for my work, which I do daily. So that was a non-negotiable for me. So when sometimes it said that Wi-Fi is a bit unstable, I was like, I just can't do it, because I have to be reliable for my own professional integrity. So for me, that was super, super important. But yeah, I really like that about the walk-in. I think that's really important. I think also for some people, how long the flights are to go back home. Some people have like I just want to have a direct flight, or if I'm connecting, it's under a certain amount of time. I think knowing that about yourself is really, really valuable, isn't it? The climate, what's the climate like? Does it change throughout the year? All of these things that make a big difference to what your day-to-day looks like. I think sometimes, and I think I was probably partially a victim to this, when I thought about Kenya, I was like, oh, the safaris, the coast, the travel, it's going to be amazing. And it is amazing, and I absolutely do value that in the posting. But really, am I going away every single day? Am I doing all of those things? No, I'm not. So it is really about the day-to-day life, and just really honing in on what is that day-to-day life. Like, what does it look like, and what is important to you? And it's super important.
I think that's what a lot of people forget to kind of to bear in mind, that is, you're not going down for safaris and holidays. You'll be living there your kind of mundane and boring day-to-day life. And how is it to get around? What is the shopping like? Can you get, like for me, I'm very health orientated. Like, I need to make sure I have good produce. I can buy what I want to eat, and that's accessible and it's there. And I think obviously if you are working, you probably would want to make sure, is there reciprocal agreement? What are the ways for you to find, like, can you find a job there? Can you keep your job, the one you have before? Like, how easy, difficult, and so on it is. Because let's say, how is the job market? Maybe you can find a job, but sorry, you're going to get paid $100 per month for what you do. Are you going to do it still? Things like that. So really sit down and say, hey, right, I'm going to adjust again my life to this new chapter. Adjustment is fair enough, but I'm not going to, you don't want to dissolve and become just a wallpaper by fitting in, how can you still have this, your life and your lane and whatever vision you have for yourself? So, what are your needs, what are your standards, and what are your preferences? If you are aware, I would first make a list, and exactly then communicate it to your spouse, and obviously see in the post reports. I would say, like, I don't know about your post reports, Emma, but I would say they're rather conservative. They feel like we need to tell you everything, so there is nothing you cannot blame us. We did not tell you. So I would say they would rather be gloomy.
Yes.
Especially, right? It's like, oh
my
God.
Yeah.
And I find, like, no, it's often kind of, because I think just have to squeeze everything in there and tell you, like, disclaimer, and this and that, and it's like, oh my God. So it's not as bad, right?
Yeah, and I also think as well, like, you have to take other people's opinions with a pinch of salt, because I mean, we've talked a little bit about this before, I'm sure, but it can be very easy to be like, oh, I've heard that, this is amazing, this country is amazing, and you have no idea, because their preferences, their standards, their needs, their expectations are completely different to yours. So there's also this part of, like, not necessarily knowing that, not putting too much pressure on yourself to know everything. Like, it's impossible to know everything about the country that you're going and how it's actually going to meet those standards and expectations. So yes, it's really important to have this idea of, are gyms easily accessible? Can I go to yoga studios? Is there a cinema? Is there somewhere I can walk outdoors?
Yes.
But you can't tick all of those boxes, and then you get there, and then is the space outdoors is literally a 1 kilometer loop, So you really have to take it with also just curiosity. I find, so don't be so harsh on yourself if you think that a posting has everything that you want it to have, but you get there and the reality isn't quite what you were expecting. And I think a lot of this is a reiterative process where you think you know what you want, you apply it, and then you will learn from it, and then you will learn it for the next post, right? So I think each time you will have greater and greater understanding and awareness of yourself, and therefore what becomes more important, and your needs change. So Anna, you were saying about, we've kind of just talked about yourself as a partner, but obviously you've had to take into account your children's needs.
Oh,
What
yes.
other types of things do you think about when you think about your
So obviously with
children?
the kids, things get trickier. I mean, the starting point is you, because as a partner, as a mom, as a human being, what about your life? Because if you are miserable, unhappy, it's not going to work for anyone,
Yeah.
right? And then, okay, you have kids. I would say, as long as the kids are young, it has its, I don't, obviously difficulties and challenges, but it's easier because you can almost go anywhere, right? As long as it's a family posting,
Yes.
right? Because if families are not allowed, you aren't going either way. But if they are allowed, so let's say you want to look into, okay, let's say with young kids, daycares, babysitters, what is there, what type of activities. And with older kids, things get more challenging because then you want to ensure some schooling continuity and certain standards. And I think, as you understand, it's disruptive for
Yes.
kids. Like my kids are now teenagers and they grew up, this is the only life they know. They don't know any other lives. That's how
Yeah.
kind of they started and still going. And as a mom, I want to make sure that also they continue whatever they are doing, curriculum wise. So
Yeah.
let's say if your kids have been all the way around, excuse me, to an American school, you might want to keep that in American school. So, what are the available schools and the post you go to? And again, it varies per ministry and how they handle things. But for us, we normally have a benchmark school in each country and a certain amount of money, right?
Yeah.
And then let's say if you want to, like, well, you're not happy with that one, I want to send my kids to a more expensive school where you pay the difference. If it's less expensive, well, who cares? You kind of, but this is the benchmark school, and that's the budget. It's all kind of based on that. And if you want, I'm sure, like, that's what you've done before. You can get in touch with people because some might have kids at the post, similar age, or I don't know, people your spouse might know. Like, it's still a small world, but you can find someone you can ask questions like, is it actually a good school? What would you recommend? And what we've done in the past, and that's the tricky bit. Obviously, you cannot do much in advance when you're still waiting for this yes or no.
Yeah.
Often the problem is the schools are booked out. There is
Yeah.
no spots. There are no spots, and that's a bit tricky. Or like, you really have to apply in advance. And that's why, obviously, if you have a family, knowing as soon as possible is better. And one thing I would say, yes, be informed, be prepared, but kind of don't overthink, don't loop on, you will solve the problem as it arises.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And the second thing, you're allowed to change your mind.
Yes.
Right? Everyone can
Yeah.
tell you, this is an amazing school. Everyone goes there, and you arrive there and you just go there with your kids and you feel it in your guts. That's not going to work for me and for my
Exactly.
kids. And
So
it happened to us. So
yeah.
no, we went and we all felt, that's not going to be this school.
Yeah. And I think that that's really important, isn't it? We've got this idea of reversible decisions and irreversible decisions. So there are irreversible decisions. Maybe I kind of think that probably like 1%, 5% of all decisions are irreversible. Maybe, and like on a day to day, like most things you can go back and change your mind on, and you change your mind, and you have the possible to change everything at any moment. So I think, if we're talking about just that application period, let's not overthink it at this point because we don't know whether we're going. We don't want to plan your entire life and then you get a completely different posting.
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh no, I'd imagined this whole entire thing. I already have my best friends because I've got in contact with them,
Exactly.
So let's take it step by step. Let's just go, okay, before the posting, what are the, let's try and hone in really, really like as like broad or as like little requirements as possible. You know, if it's air pollution, good schools, outdoor space, you know, let's just get it down to maybe five things. Let's meet the criteria, and then if there's lots of jobs and lots of opportunities that meet that criteria, then yeah, maybe we get a bit more picky and we start to think about things a bit more. But if you are in that period of just before, let's just make it just nice, light, breezy, exciting as much as possible. And then I think, because when we start to overthink things too much, it actually just increases the uncertainty, doesn't it? And it actually it reduces your chance of even going for something in the first place. Like,
No, exactly.
it's
And
too much.
I think it comes from this kind of fear, basically, that of uncertainty, because we kind of want to control things and foresee the unforeseeable, but that's
Yeah,
impossible. One thing I would say, okay, exactly, read through your post reports. Hopefully, what are your needs, standards, and preferences. For you as a person, what is there for schooling wise, so daycare wise for your kids. What do people like? Thing recreation. That's also important. Like, look at like there'll be weekends or holidays or what you're going to do. I think like some places, and I remember when we went to China, to Shanghai. It's a very big city. It's like 20 million people. Emma, every day 8 million people travel in the same metro together with you. You're constantly
wow.
surrounded by, I don't know, hundreds and thousands of people, and it gets to you. Like, if you're not used to someone's constantly in your
Yes.
face 24/7, oh my God, it's tiring.
Yeah.
And I remember someone told us, and I can't remember whether it was in post report, I don't think so, but like, maybe even you need to plan your holidays. Every three,
Yeah.
4 months, you need to leave the country for your sanity. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
You go gaga if you don't.
Well, yeah.
Right?
You do need. But I think that probably in most places. I think sometimes you need a holiday from life anyway. But yeah, there is
But
there
some
but
places
there
more
are
than
yeah, there
others,
are
just because
definitely, yeah.
it's challenging
But
otherwise.
also,
And
like,
obviously, yeah.
even, I mean, obviously what you explained, that if I was imagining myself in China, I was like, well, I think I would probably struggle with the food. Which is probably something terrible to say, but as in, like, because it's so different to what I normally eat. I know I'm making massive assumptions here whether I can get European style food and American
You
food and
can.
things. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, maybe I
you
would
can
be okay
everything.
then.
I mean, it depends again on where you are in China. That's a good point. It
Yeah,
depends. Um, but I think just obviously you cannot. Okay, one thing is post report is there. It's like how the starting point.
yeah,
You're not going to get all this lived in info because you only get it when you live in a place.
yeah,
If you really kind of, you're going to apply for those three things. If you really want to, you can get in touch with someone. I'm sure it's possible, and kind of, can give you more like this experience from the inside, or the view from this is how I'm living this lifestyle. Um, but other than that, just like, you decide. And one more thing, I guess if it's, let's say you're working or you have kids, and wherever you're applying to go, it's in a different hemisphere. Because I've done it a few times. Then prior to that, you would want to decide, hey, how am I going to do that? Like, don't, because if you have kids and you want to ensure some continuity, and it's kind of the move happens, it just doesn't align with the school in
yeah,
any way. Like, would you stay behind? He goes ahead. Like, you need to talk that through before you sign up for anything.
yeah. I mean, and also goes into, even if you do line up, do you want to move your kids halfway through a year? So that adds another dimension in itself as well, doesn't it? And I think
Yes.
that I think if you're in this position where you're like really starting to, I don't know, you're feeling uncertain, maybe you've done your applications and you then start to get all of those feelings of doubt, I would just say to yourself, you don't have to go. So even if, I don't know, so say with Kenya, we applied, we then I then had where it was in the worry period of in between. Then we found out that we got it. If I really didn't feel that good, I could then just say no, I don't want to come. So sometimes just picking those options or those postings that just to apply doesn't necessarily mean that A, you're going to go, B, you have to go. So always just know that you do have the power around that, I think, and just try and put it out there and just see what happens.
I agree. I think that's why obviously you just want to be kind of clever. I think not clever in terms of intentional. You want to be intentional, like, oh well,
Yeah.
I'll just go with the flow. Oh, I'll find it out. Oh yes and no. I think some things you do want to find out in advance
Yeah.
before saying yes to anything. Um, I think another thing that you want to bear in mind, let's say if it's a compound and small posting, kind of again, just comes from experience that I can share here. It can be a blessing and a curse,
Yes. Yeah.
right? If socially it's kind of a desert,
Yeah.
wow, that might be challenging.
Yeah.
Or it might be amazingly lucky and have friends for life.
Yeah. And I
And no one
think
can tell in
no one
advance,
could,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
no one could tell you in advance. And I think that's, that, and again, it's personality though, isn't it? Because if you actually really enjoy quiet life and you enjoy small posters, like maybe that's what you would always pick. Go into a big posting would just be like, what? There's this event and there's all these people. So yeah, it's all about. I think it's all about just personality and just taking a bit of time to just really understand what you are like, just where you are. I would say. So we've kind of then talked about a little bit then, Anna, about if we say that that's the what you do before the post, and then you get the post. That's when you would then do all of your. Is that when you would normally do that, or your deeper research on the schools and
yeah,
things like that?
definitely. I mean, then I would really want to get in touch with people who have schools, or I mean, uh, kids at the school,
Yeah.
and just get their opinion. Because often, I don't know, bizarrely enough, all these expensive international schools always booked out. Like
Yeah.
we struggle to put our kids in the schools.
Mm.
Because unlike a public school anywhere, let's say in Europe, where they have to accept your child if it lives in the catchment area, they have to. There's no way around. They cannot say no. Here they can. They can, and they did it to us.
Yeah.
Like one time, we had to find an alternative solution for a few months because they said no, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just not accepting your child. We're fully
Yeah.
booked, and that's a big trouble, obviously.
Mm.
Anyway, so schooling is another big topic we can cover on a separate day. But I think exactly, like I would say, forget about perfection,
Yes.
right?
There are
And
no
think
perfect decisions,
exactly
right?
fitting your picture
Yeah.
on how the schools should be, how this should be, how no, gosh, you're setting yourself up for failure after failure, and lots of unhappiness. Yes, I think you just have some non-negotiables and standards, but just know, even kind of the most expensive school in Beirut, I can tell you, well, sorry guys, but it's not as good as a public German school in some cities, like
Yeah.
really. So you cannot then be raving about, but that's the best they have.
Yeah. But I think when you've also got the posting like that, I think that's also the time to try and get yourself excited as well, isn't it? So obviously you've got the realities of like the actual like day-to-day life, which is really important, but also taking a bit of time to go, oh, where can we go to? Or, what type of things, like, so I remember spending lots of time, because in Pakistan there weren't really like yoga studios, or there was one cinema, but I didn't go. So I was like, oh, we can go to the cinema now. We can go and do this now. And I think if you can try and get yourself a little bit excited as well about all the possibilities, or the new things that you want to try, or the things that the city has to offer, whether that's doing like the touristy things, or whether that's your day-to-day life. I think having a bit of time to just investigate the actual city and what the city has to offer is a really cool opportunity at that point when you found out that you've got to go. Or well, not you've got to go, but that you got the posting.
Exactly, that you chose to go, right? And I
Yeah,
agree with you. That's such a good point, Emma. I'm glad you brought it up, that you want to get excited and kind of start, I would say, start with this positive anticipation, right? Something
yeah,
exciting is coming up. It's what an amazing adventure. And yes, it won't always fit my pictures of, like, how people should behave, or like, how a place should tick. But if you embrace it, well, that's what an amazing opportunity. Like, if you want, you can learn a new language, right?
yeah,
Or you can explore, and like, how amazing. For me, it's like I'm so grateful. Like, I'm in the Middle East now, and like, this is a new culture. This is really new way of thinking and living that I'm exploring now. And right, there's so many things you can be grateful for, and I agree with you. Definitely start getting excited.
yeah. I think it's really, I think it's the most wonderful thing, isn't it? So it's like, oh, I've got this, just this whole new chapter that's going to happen, and I don't know who I'm going to meet, or who am I going to meet from a past life that I don't know who's there yet, because these circles just they come around, don't they, where you do bump into people, or people who know people, um, and we it's like, yeah, what has life got in store for me, and rather than that being like a scary thing that's completely out of control and in the unknown, well, that would happen anywhere. You have no idea if you stayed in the same town or city for 20 years, you still don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 years, even if you think that you do. So the fact that you can actually say, well, actually, I have no idea what's going to happen, um, and see it as a positive and exciting process.
Exactly. Approach this whole thing, this new chapter with curiosity instead of, like, rigidity, like, oh my, or fear,
Yeah.
kind of. I think anxiety and excitement, they're kind of really, it's a very tiny line that divides those two. And if you
Yes,
try to
it
kind of
does.
lean more towards, like, I'm excited about that.
Yes.
And I think for me, it's also important. And to be honest with you, wherever you go, you take yourself with you. You can be very miserable in the most amazing place on earth,
Yeah.
right? And vice versa. And I think, like, that's why what I'm passionate about is, like, how to, you are your own best friend, your anchor, your everything, and then you can go anywhere from
Yeah.
that position of, I've got myself, I've got my back, I'll be fine,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And just a little note on what I love about nerves and excitement, and I just loved how you said it's a fine line. But if you imagine, or you kind of sat with that feeling of excitement, or you imagine something that you're excited about, normally what you get is you kind of get that, like, that buzz in your belly, you get like that, your heart starts to race, you get that feeling. They're the exact same feelings in your body as nerves. So whenever I'm in a situation where I because if the sensations in your body are the same, then it's only the way that your mind is actually interpreting that means that you decide if you're excited or you're nervous, right? So whenever I have those feelings, especially I remember doing my diploma presentation for, like, my final project, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh, got a really dry mouth, and I was like, oh, maybe you're just excited to show what all your your results are, and what your research has shown. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm just excited. We can do this. And it's amazing how just taking that step back and going, okay, nerves and excitement, they can all be one thing. We just have to decide whether we're going to perceive it in a negative way or a really positive way. And yeah, I love that feeling, because that's something that's really helped me whenever I've been in a situation that I would think in past Emma's life would think that that's absolutely petrifying for Emma to do. And I've now turned it to it's always exciting, which is a nice way to be.
Exactly. That's the same reframe I'm using. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I think it's just because I think anxiety, it's this contraction in your body, right? It kind of, it's this, I don't know, it's tension, and those butterflies or whatever you were describing, kind of, it's more contracting. And we
yeah,
say I'm excited, it's just more expansive. and kind of is, yeah, expansive and more fun. And it's based, I think, on safety. This is this expansion coming from, well, it's exciting what I'm going
Yeah.
to see, explore, and discover. And obviously, what we're describing here, right? It does not mean you still will be going through this roller coaster. We're all human
Oh,
beings. If you might say, "Oh
absolutely.
my God, what on earth have I done? Why did I sign up for that? Oh no, and that again." And
Yeah.
I think it's just give yourself a break, a big cuddle, and just at times just sit with the emotion and let it pass.
Yeah.
Right?
Would that be your final top tip for us, Anna? Sit with the
Exactly.
emotion.
Sit with emotion, because the thing is, I don't know, a lot of people, I mean, myself including, don't realize that actually in our body, emotions, if you really just let it be, if you don't fix it, if you don't judge it, if you just be with that, it kind of dissipates. It peaks and it goes away within 90 seconds. Would you believe it?
Wow.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm
you have
learning
to
about
allow
contractions and they're
that
60 seconds.
with without. So 90 seconds of
Yeah.
like just being with, I don't know, kind of, might be anger, might be frustration, might be extreme fear, but if you kind of, obviously then you have to be dissociated from that. And then you could ask, you could feel like, where is it in my body? Why do I believe? What do I believe to feel this way? If you want to go further, but it's kind of more. So the final note, I would say, approach it with curiosity. You're
Yeah.
allowed to change your mind,
Yes.
and don't overthink. Do your research in advance, kind of plan, but don't, I don't know, sketch out every day for the next 3 years in case you don't
Yeah.
get it. Just be prepared, be informed. And for me, what I would like to impart on everyone, know your needs, preferences, and standards.
Yes.
That's it.
That sounds
What about
absolutely
you, Emma?
beautiful. I would say I think that just on kind of like an opposite side, when you're in that overthinking cycle and you're really like looping round and round again, and you're having that same conversation over and over again, I would say give yourself a time limit. So you say this decision will be made but on Sunday or in 3 weeks time, or like give yourself a period of time where you know that this emotional looping is going to end, because I think ultimately when you're in that cycle you're never going to come out with a decision that's ever going to be, like we said, it's never a perfect decision. We can always look back and say, oh, I should have done this. Hindsight's a great thing, we all know that. I would say, so give yourself a time point, say this is what we're going to do, and then when you are in that when you're in that like loop or whatever is going round and round, really dig deep into what is it that I'm afraid of committing to a decision. So am I afraid of am I afraid? Am I afraid, like, do I have a fear of being judged? Am I, is it, I'm afraid of being wrong? And then if it's one of those things, then go, well, is this a reversible decision? Is it an irreversible decision? What would I do to get myself out of it if I made in future years' time the wrong decision? And just know that every decision is the right decision in that moment. So you have all of the information. You make the decision based on the information in that right moment. So when you get to 1 year's, 2 years, 3 years time, you can never say, "Oh, I was wrong." I don't think, because you were right in that very moment. It's just now that you have more information or a different perspective. So just know that you're always right.
I love that, Emma. And I would say, in this decision-making process, I agree with you. Like, give yourself some time. But also, like, maybe think, what is the worst case scenario? Like, if
Yeah,
this whole thing goes to the dogs, it will be a disaster. Like, what's the worst case scenario? Yeah, just look at that.
yeah,
And often it's not that scary, if that's the worst case scenario. And once you decided, you kind of, that was the deadline, you decided, stick to it.
yeah.
for now, just don't revisit it. It's done. Because once you start doubting, self-doubt comes, questioning, it really undermines our confidence.
Yeah, and this is a massive
Done.
test of
Door
like self-trust, right?
Exactly. But
Yeah.
then I think, okay, it's not like it's at the moment with all I had, as you correctly said, Emma, that was the right decision I took. Case closed. I can revisit it. Does not mean that's it forever. I'll never allowed to look at it. But for now, yes, don't look at. You revisit it later on.
Yeah.
Right.
And absolutely. And I think that ultimately we have the autonomy, we have the power to change our minds, change our decisions,
Yes.
and we know as people that we can make the change when and if it's necessary.
Yes.
So you know, even when you get to on post, if it's a 3-4 year, yes, it's not ideal to short talk, but it's possible. People do it. So, yes, you go in with great intentions, but you can change your mind. You can change your mind. So everything is all possible.
Exactly.
So
it's
yes,
not a death sentence.
Yeah,
Everything's possible.
Yeah, well, you're not signing up for life either.
No.
Like you're literally just giving it a go for a few years. I think that's a nice way to be. So it's been really nice to chat with you, Anna, today.
Always a pleasure.
It's always great, isn't it? And I hope everyone at home has managed, or wherever you are listening to this podcast, has enjoyed our discussion too. So, if, as always, Anna, how can we find you if we want to get in contact with you?
Yes, you can see my handle here, Not Just a Spouse, on Instagram. I also have a website, notjustspouse.com, and LinkedIn. It's also present, obviously, here on the podcast. How about you, Emma?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at The Zesty Life, and both of our informations are all in the show notes, as well as our anonymous question form. So if you have a topic that you want to talk about, or you have a specific question about your specific circumstances, it's completely anonymous, so we have no idea, but we would love to help you unpack it for you, which would be wonderful.
And if you don't have a question at the moment, but you say, I would enjoy more of that or these, please also tell us, what are your preferences? What would you like to hear more of? What topics are really kind of, at the moment, vital for you?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. So yes, thank you so much, everyone, and we look forward to speaking to you next time. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Emma.
Bye.